Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting David Coach Kitch, the founder of Edge Leadership Academy, the top leadership development company, a former Division One football coach, international best-selling author, and host of the Built Not Born podcast. Coach Kitch specializes in building leaders, culture, and mindset for high performers in sports, business, and life. How you doing today, Kitch?
What's up, brother? It is Finish Friday over here, man. So I'm fired up. I'm enjoying life.
It's awesome. I was super excited to have you on. I loved our conversation. We were introduced through a mutual friend, and he was right. Definitely somebody that I wanted to know. So I was happy that we were able to connect and share that with more people. So awesome. To start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
Yeah, man. So I'm in central Pennsylvania, born and raised, brother. I moved. It's funny, man. I moved all over the country and had the opportunity to see the world and see the country through coaching and different just journeys through life. And I always said when I left Pennsylvania, I would never go through another winter in my life. Like I was like, I will go anywhere except the Northeast, and I did a good job. I avoided it for 10 years, and had the opportunity to coach all over the country. And now I am back in the Northeast and I am dealing with the winters. And it is, you know what, man? It's you appreciate it for about the first 24 hours. And then you're like, okay, I'm over this. I want to go back to the warm weather.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's everywhere right now. I was on a call the other day with a gentleman in Alabama, deep Alabama. He's like, "Yeah, I was looking at the beach and it was covered in snow." Like, well, you can't get
Yeah.
away from it. It's south of me. I'm happy. I think we have maybe half an inch right now. We got bitter cold, but we didn't get a lot of snow, so they're dealing with it. So
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place right now.
yeah, so awesome, awesome. Well, great. So, never been to the area. Let's say you have friends coming up to visit. Where are you taking them? What are you doing for fun? And what are you having for dinner?
Oh, brother, come on now. We are in the pizza capital of the world. New York and Chicago are full of it. And we have, it's called Old Forge style pizza around here. It's a Northeast PA tradition. Phenomenal square cut pizza. You order it in sheets, not pies. So you go up and you don't get a slice, you get a cut. So it's a little bit different. But if I have somebody coming to visit, man, the big thing out here, number one, is just the mountains, the beauty. I mean, as much as I joke about the winters here during the summertime, man, driving these back roads and seeing the mountains, it's something special. It's a beautiful area of the country. And as far as entertainment, brother, we are the coal region. We are every sign or every town that you go into in this area operates on three things: God, family, and football. And so if you miss a Northeast PA opportunity to go see a high school football game, you are missing out. And I was actually very shocked when I got to the college level because I played in front of smaller crowds in college than I ever did in high school. So that is definitely what I'm bringing somebody to experience if they're coming to visit Northeast PA.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be fun. There's something different when you're going to like a high school game that has, a crowd, right? I grew up, I did all that stuff. We didn't have a lot, because, I think we had to co-op half the town, half the county in order to get a team together. But, there is something different. There's that, people care, and the same with college, and everything, but there's just something different about, the high school games. So that's awesome. And then you mentioned pizza. What does Dave Portnoy say about your pizza?
Oh man, high ranking, high
Yeah.
ranking. He came down, he did a whole pizza tour for the whole Northeast region because there's such heated debate. I mean, this is the pizza debate in Northeast PA. It divides families. I mean, there's people that you are loyal to who you are loyal to, and if you get caught eating something else, it could be a big family fight.
Yeah, no. Here in the Midwest, we aren't in the running. We have our Casey's breakfast pizza slaps. I don't care what he says, he's wrong. It's top tier in my opinion, but no, we definitely aren't in the running. So it would definitely have to be something I tried. So awesome. So what is it that you do? You're doing quite a bit, but just in a few words, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything, but really if you boil it down, man, I arm people with the skills to win in business, athletics, and life. And so if you want to kind of look at it from a three-tiered approach or three-pronged approach, which is what we look at it from, we have our corporate sector, which is our B2B business. We come in, we do leadership development, leadership training, leadership processes and systems, and we actually consult on that side as well as do the implementation of the workshops and the training. Obviously, it gives me the opportunity to also do some keynote addresses and things like that. But primarily, our business is the consulting and implementation side on the B2B. And then direct to consumer, we also do mindset training or mindset coaching, one-to-one performance coaching. Think of it as, I call them entrepreneurial athletes, right? So think of it as a sports psychologist for the everyday human, right? So trying to help people operate at their best level and replicate their best days, day after day after day. So that's the individual side. And then we also have our athletic side. We're still heavy in the college athletics world, as you alluded to. That's where I came from. So we still do a lot of work with higher education, whether it's coach the coaches, leadership and culture workshops for teams. We also do a lot of like career readiness type stuff. So helping student athletes with that transition after athletics into the quote unquote real world, the corporate world, and getting them to understand their leadership capabilities and the unique skills that they have as student athletes. So I say that to say we do a little bit of everything, but it's all about peak performance. It's all about leadership. It's all about culture.
It's awesome. Yeah, you're doing a lot and it's all awesome. Um, how'd you get here? Kind of what that story look like, what that journey looked like? It didn't happen overnight, clearly.
Yeah, no, it was if somebody would have told me 10 years ago that this is what I'd be doing now, I probably would have laughed in their face. But basically I had the opportunity through my collegiate coaching experience to see leadership, see culture, and see elite performance at a really high level. And I got to see it not just from the student athletes. Like everybody always says, oh, you got to coach, NFL players, Major League Baseball players, et cetera. And it's like, yeah, I did, but I also got to see these really high performing organizations, right? So the coaches at that level, high performers, the administrators, high performers. I mean, college sports is $1 billion industry, right? And so you see this elite level of preparation, execution, systems, and processes from a really different lens when you're in it. And I learned throughout that process the impact that could have on people. And I also learned that when you get to the top, whether it's coaching, business, doesn't matter, the talent gap actually shrinks. And so what really separates people is the quote unquote intangibles, right? And what is that? That's mindset. That's performance mindset, right? And having that high performer understanding and lens that you're looking through life at. And so during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to take a step back, which I think a lot of people did because we were forced to. And so I got a chance to do a little soul searching, right? And what I realized was I had built leadership curriculums, I had built culture curriculums, I had a master's in sports psych. I had done all these things in the college world. And I was like, I want to impact more people. I want to do this on a bigger scale. And so I left a lot of people in my life scratching their heads. And I got when I got my contract extension, which at that level is hard to do, and especially to be extended at the, kind of the tier that I was extended at. I had a movie, slow motion moment where I was like, I can't do this. I know that my heart is telling me to go do something else. And so I walked away and I turned down a contract extension in a time period when people weren't getting extended and coaches were getting laid off and furloughs were happening. And I went with my gut, man. And so I went home and I Googled how do you start an LLC and I filled out that online. And then I called my family and said, hey, just so you guys know, I quit my job. Um, and from there, Edge Leadership Academy was born. And I started to put out free content. I didn't know how it was going to go, and people started biting. And I was fortunate. I like to say I got in at the right time, even though a lot of people would say it was the wrong time to launch a public speaking business. But it actually worked out because I got to do so many virtual events. And within about 6 months, we had 34 NCAA clients that had signed on with us. And then from there, I met not met, but my business partner was a really good friend of mine. We met and talked about what I was doing. He was coming from the corporate world. He was looking for his next adventure. And so he came on and we launched the corporate division. And flash forward 5 years, man, here we are doing the thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, being able to take that jump and just say, you know what, this isn't what I want to do forever. I'm going to go build what I want to do forever. That there, that takes some guts. I know a lot of us have faced that as entrepreneurs, going from something that, people think you're crazy. Why would you do that? You had a good paying job and blah blah blah. But just knowing this isn't for me. I'm gonna go build what I want. That's something a lot of people never get over that. A lot of us have fear going into it. I'm sure you had some fear there.
Oh, no, no doubt, man. And I still do, right? And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship is, at some point you got to bet on yourself and you have to be willing to say, if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's on me too. Like at least I'm in control. And that's the difference for me personally. When I stepped out from coaching, it was like your success in coaching is attached to a whole team. Your success is attached to a university. Your success is attached to a lot of people. That also means that you can be fired because of something that had nothing to do with you. And so you have to kind of look at it that way. And so for me, it was like me taking back control and saying, hey, I know I have these skills that add value to people. I know that this works not only in athletics, but it works in business, it works in the military, it works in government across the board. So I have these transferable skills that I've learned. If I can figure out a way to offer it and a way to package it, it could be a valuable purchase for somebody. It can be something that can change a business. It could be something that can change somebody's life. And so as long as I think you have that grounding understanding of like, hey, what I sell or what I'm going to sell is going to make the world a better place. It kind of takes some of that fear away. Right now, obviously, there's a lot of nuance to that. You got to figure out, you got to basically enroll in YouTube University and go through the trials and tribulations, right? But as long as you have that grounding foundation of like, hey, what I bring to the table adds value, it solves a problem. People will pay for this problem. I'm giving you the shortcut of my 10 years of experience plus XYZ education, right? I'm cutting that corner for you and bringing this to you. If you can package that correctly, I think you can be successful.
Absolutely. And to your point, just because you have a job doesn't mean it's any safer. Like people have that misconception where it's like, well, I don't want to leave my safe, my safe, cushy job. It's like, yeah, but you could lose that tomorrow.
Yep.
At least with what you're doing, like you said, everything's on you. You're either going to
Mhm.
win based on your merit or lose on it. But then if you do lose or you fail, you can pick yourself back up and learn again and go back at it, which is super, super valuable in the entrepreneurship world. I think that's what really scares people is the idea of failure. That's a freebie. That's a free lesson
Yeah.
that you just got. Maybe not free, painful lesson, but you didn't have to, you didn't learn that one through YouTube. That was one that you picked up that
Right.
bruise. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
What do you think your favorite thing is that you're doing now?
Honestly, I it's twofold. I love the one-to-one coaching, and I was really hesitant to get into that space, just based on some of the experiences that I had, and also the fact that I take the word coach so seriously, right? Because I was a coach in the traditional sense of the word, and so I was really hesitant to get into that space, and I really only got into it because people were asking for it, and we had clients and people that were saying, "Hey, would you coach me?" And I finally made the jump, and I was like, "Man, this is so fun because you can really get into the weeds." And you can really like instead of just diagnosing symptoms, you're actually getting to the root cause. And you can work through this with people and you really see people's lives change and take off. And you're like, oh, that's really cool, man. And the relationships that you build through it is phenomenal. Which I always said is when I was in the college world, it's relationships, not rings. I never really was a big like you're not going to walk in my coaching office and see a bunch of championship rings. What you would see was pictures of me with players, wedding invites, things like that. So I really enjoy the one-to-one coaching stuff that I'm doing now, the mindset and performance side of it. But that being said, man, the joy that I get from talking to a business owner, especially being an entrepreneur myself, talking to a CEO, after an engagement that we do and hearing them, seeing the stress off of their shoulders and seeing them be like, okay, this helped my business, right? This legitimately helped move things forward. And for us, we don't really work with really large enterprises. I mean, we work with, some medium-sized businesses, but our biggest client is 700 employees and it's family owned. So for us, when we're making these changes and we're helping them implement these processes and systems from a leadership development, from a culture development, from a mindset and performance standpoint, you're making a big difference in someone's life. That's somebody's livelihood. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into building this business. And so when you can come in and make a significant impact and then have those conversations with the founders and also with the employees, that it's a place that they want to be and that things are moving in the right direction. That for me, man, gives me so much joy.
Yeah, no, that's true. And to what you said, it's about the relationships, not rings. If you're in business because you want to make money or something like equivalent to that, you're never going to have enough. But if you go in wanting to actually genuinely connect with people, make a difference, help one another, that's something, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna feel fulfilled. You're gonna at the end of the day, and the money comes with it.
Yeah. It's a
If you can
scoreboard.
absolutely. So yeah, I love that. I love that mentality. You see a lot of entrepreneurs, you see a lot of people, you've been, an entrepreneur yourself. What are some things, hard won lessons that you learned or that, mistakes that you see people making early on that you would advise them or if you could go back in time, tell yourself, hey, look out for this.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword, but they tell people when you first get into business, like say yes to everything. And I think that that's great advice for a beginner, but I think you have to really quickly get out of that mentality. And I learned that the hard way. A lot of people don't know this about me, but actually 6 months into the business, we were profitable. I was making more money than I'd ever made before, and I got the opportunity to start being partners in other projects and other businesses. And so I opened a bunch of other businesses. I ended up opening a 22,000 square foot training facility. It was the largest and most top end training facility for athletes in Northeast PA. And it was huge. And honestly, man, I had no business doing that. And it took my eye off the ball and I almost lost everything. We opened and closed it in 11 months. I joke and say that it was the fastest turnaround and failure in gym history, because it was 11 months from open to close. And but I learned through that lesson or through that, that you can't say yes to everything. And you have to learn very quickly, that there's an opportunity cost for every single thing. Did I love having a gym and did I love, being able to still have my hand in that kind of world? Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. But at the same time, I was spending 16 hours a day there. My core business was generated the majority of my income was suffering because of that, right? And so I think that's a key lesson. I think the other key lesson is, getting out of the mentality of asking everybody for advice, right? And I mean that with a grain of salt because obviously you have to lean on other people. The strength of the wolf is the pack, but you have to be very careful about curating your pack around you. And so one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make early on is asking advice from everybody. And you have to take into consideration like the people that you're asking advice for, yes, they love you. Yes, they care about you. Yes, they want to see the best for you, but they haven't been where you're trying to go. And so they can only give you advice from their experiences. They can't give you advice from where you're trying to go. So be careful of who you're asking advice from, and make sure that they're people that are, where you want to be or have the experiences that you want to have or have a set of values that you want to emulate, right? That's important too. So those are two of the key ones. The third one is don't hire an echo chamber. I mean, if you're hiring people that are just like you on your team, you're making a huge mistake. You need a variety of opinions, you need a variety of experiences, you need a variety of values to drive your company forward, right? I think that was one thing that we did really well early on in our hiring process when we started to scale was bringing the right people in, and our core hires at the beginning really shaped the trajectory of the business. And I think some founders really mess that up. And I kind of go against the old adage of like don't do business with friends. Like my two first hires were two of my high school teammates that were some of my best friends. And it's been the best thing that I've ever done because I call them green lights. They're able to just say what they need to say to me without the weird power dynamic, without anything odd. Like they just let it rip, man. My guys hold up mirrors for me all the time and tell me where my blind spots are. And they also are the same guys that when, things seem darkest, I can lean on them and I can be a little bit more transparent than I would with somebody who didn't know me, right? And so I think going through that early hiring process as an entrepreneur, be really intentional about who you hire and who you bring on. And remember that you can teach hard skills depending on what level your business is at. Obviously, if you need a specialist, you need a specialist. But for the most part, for those startups and those early stage founders, you can teach hard skills. You can't teach character. So hire for character and worry about the hard skills afterwards.
Yeah, that's all three of those are great points. Just to your first one though, getting away from saying yes to everything as soon as possible is absolutely one. Uh, you don't have to say no. You can say no, but right. So, like you said, with building your pack because you work with people, finding the connections that'll be really good at the things that you're not, so that you can hyper focus on what you are good at. So, somebody asks you, "Can you help me with X, Y, Z?" No, but Kitch can. Right. Let me make that introduction. That's the whole idea behind I know a guy is we're finding that circle of people that we can trust that are going to be able to work back and forth with us because then you're getting the same gold star just by referring them to somebody that's going to be able to help in that situation as if you did it yourself and you don't have to worry about it. And then they're doing the same because now you have a group of people out there that if something comes along that you're the one that they should be talking to, you're the one getting that referral. So you have a multitude of people working together. It's exponential the way that that works. It's not additive, it's multiplicative. So building that out quickly, and that's impossible when you're starting out because you don't know anybody yet. But working on that part is just super, super vital. And everything else you said, absolutely. That's all great advice. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna take notes myself. So, but awesome. So, what would you say? your average client is, or your avatar of a client, or just some pain points that if somebody's going through XYZ, they should be talking to you.
Yeah, I'll start on the B2B side. So for us, kind of our main sandbox that we play in, so to say, is definitely mergers and acquisitions. If a company has just been bought, or if you're looking to purchase a company, corporate culture is a buzzword, but it's also very real. And so we come in and work with you to make sure that that change is adapted the right way, the right leadership principles are put in place. So that's a big area that we play in. The second area is just growth, man. If you're experiencing growth and you want to start succession planning, you want to start building a leadership pipeline, we come in and we help do that, man. I think there's a lot of founders that hit those hockey stick moments in their business where it really takes off, and now they have to scale a team, and they start picking people that were with them the longest but have no leadership training, right? And so we help you put a process and a system in place for developing that next leader. And our biggest client right now, I love to say it's one of the things we brag about. But we've been with them for 3 years now. They'll do 750 million plus in revenue this year, and 95 to 97% of their managerial or leadership hires come from within. The majority of their people started as field techs and are now in VP roles, senior VP roles, et cetera. So those are definitely some of the things that we really focus on and we work with. So again, mergers and acquisitions, experiencing large growth. The other thing is turnover. If you're going through something with your company and you're not sure what it is, why are people leaving? What is it? I can't pinpoint this. And you've tried the town halls, you've tried the skip level meetings, you've tried all those things. Give us a ring, man. That's what we do. We come in, we get a pulse on what's going on, and we help you not only retain but develop and attract more A players to your business. So that's on the B2B side, kind of the three main sandboxes. On the direct to consumer side and on those individual sides, listen, if you're ready to step out of the stands and into the arena of your life, we're for you. As far as professions and kind of that ICP or ideal customer persona, we don't have one. It's people that want to be the best versions of themselves. So if you want to show up as the best dad, the best mom, the best brother, sister, whatever, and you want to level up in your career at the same time, that's what we do. If you're thinking about taking the launch or taking the jump to launch a business, that's what we do. It's like I said, it's like having a sports psychologist for the everyday person. That's what we do. So if you want to figure out how can I replicate my best days and how can I lean into that little voice that keeps me up at night, that tells me that I'm destined for more and I want more in my life, but I don't know how to get there, we're your guys, and we will help you build the systems and processes to attain that.
That's awesome. What about like power partners? What are other industries or professionals that maybe you synergize well with or collaborate well with?
Yeah, we do a lot of work with management consultants. It just kind of fits right there. I love my management consulting friends, so I hope they don't take this as a dig, but they're very good at telling you what to do and not telling you how to do it. And so we're very tight with them, where we come in behind. Maybe they have a strategic plan laid out, and we come in with the implementation side. Doesn't mean that we can't make our own strategic plans, but we also just come in and just focus on the implementation sometimes. So that's an area that we definitely work well with. And then really anything in the kind of multi-level organization, if you have something like that, we synergize really well with that. So when I say multi-level, I don't mean multi-level marketing schemes, but what I do mean is, like a big sales organization, things like that. We really fit well within that, because we're almost an add-on to your existing business structure, right? So what I mean is, like, if you have a sales, primarily a sales organization, right, where it's almost sales as a service, we're great at coming in and being able to work with your teams and develop those next level leaders that come up behind. And that being said, it doesn't have to be a one-way relationship where you're just paying us. It also, we work well with also helping those sales professionals either find other roles or develop more on their own. So there's a lot of things that we do, that play kind of, we say, industry adjacent. So things that are on our side, or worked well to the side or to the sides of us. The other thing is event planners, obviously. We do a lot of work with them, whether it's referring some of the people that we've partnered with in the past, or them referring us to things. We do a lot of work with event planners and helping them design that. And learning and development professionals is another one, where we can trade ideas, sharpen the sword, that kind of stuff. So all those things, and then obviously your basic business functions, right? CPAs, all those types of professional services. Like, we do a lot of work. We have partnerships with a lot of those as well.
Okay. What would you say are some of the key traits that make a great leader in sports, business, and life?
That's such a great question, man. And I think we overcomplicate it sometimes, right? If you really boil leadership down, whether it's in sports, business, doesn't matter. It's about being somebody worth following, going somewhere worth going for a reason that matters, right? That's it. It's those simple three things. And so there's all these books out here that you can read that'll tell you how to be a great leader, and you need this and that and the other. But really, it comes down to five main things. So the first, and I call them our five C's. The first one is character. You got to know exactly who you are, right? And you got to know who you're not, and you got to not be willing to compromise on that. That doesn't mean you don't grow. It doesn't mean you don't evolve. It doesn't mean you don't adapt to your team. But at your core, you need to know who you are and what that means. Your character is your leadership signature. So whether you're leading a business or a team, who you are is what you sign at the bottom of that interaction that you have with people, right? How do you make people feel? The second thing is your ability to be consistent. So you have character, then your consistency, right? People crave consistency. As humans, we operate on consistency. We like patterns, we like predictability. So your ability to be consistent in the way that you act, the way that you react to things, and the things that you care about, the way that you spend your time, your habits, things like that, is also really important. And the third one is commitment. Can you commit to the people, the vision, and the culture? Right. So people don't follow leaders that are only committed to results. Nobody enjoys that. It creates an animal kingdom type environment. So really, it's about your ability to commit to the right things, and then your ability to show that commitment through your actions. Right. So it sounds similar to consistency, and it is, but it's a deeper level. It's an emotional trigger of like, I am committed to this mission that we are on, and I'm not going to go backwards on it. This is where we're going, and I'm willing to build the resources around it, right? Which leads to our next one, which is communication. So obviously you have to be able to communicate, right? If you can't build trust and you can't communicate with your team, it's very hard to lead anybody. It's just a key skill, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that. There's a million books and studies and things out there that'll tell you more about it. And the last piece is creativity, right? Leadership and creativity is synonymous, right? So when we talk about a Super Bowl winning quarterback, nobody says he managed his team to a Super Bowl win, right? Unless maybe you're Trent Dilfer in the early 2000s with the Ravens, right? Other than that, you led your team to a Super Bowl win, right? If we talk about a Fortune 500 CEO or somebody that navigated the pandemic really well, nobody says they managed them through crisis, right? No, they led them through crisis. Leadership and creativity are synonymous, and so the creativity piece is your problem solving. It's your ability to not only know your team but leverage their strengths and then cover their weaknesses, and your ability to not only have the right people on the bus, but have them in the right seats. So those are the five C's that I look at, and those cross any industry. And originally it started in sports, and I was like, what are the things that we look for in captains and leaders, whether they're coaches, players, etc. And then we got into the corporate world, and I'm like, it's the exact same thing. And then I started my PhD studies in psychology, and I was like, let me really dive in on this. And I'm like, oh wait, it's the exact same thing. So those five C's show up in every, whether it even into the faith community and into spirituality. Like when people look at a great leader from a church standpoint, it's the same five C's, right? So those things are the overarching theme of leadership, and obviously there's a lot of nuance and sub skills within those, but those are the five main categories.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. I was following along perfectly because yeah, every good leader that I can think of, they're yep, that tracks. And it's one of those things that you didn't invent it, you just put words to it, right? And that's
Exactly.
what works is we know a good leader when we see them. You can tell you know the difference between a good leader and a bad leader. But it's kind of hard to quantify what that is. So being able to say, here's what it is in these simple terms, that's invaluable. So that's awesome. How can mindset and culture impact success in high performance environments?
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything, right? If you get into those high performing environments and you look at the mindset that they have, obviously it's a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. So, meaning they're looking for opportunities to get better. But they also embrace adversity and they embrace things. And we talk about it, we say no L's, only lessons, right? So, you never take a loss, you only take a lesson. It's a constant learning environment. And in order to have that mindset, you have to be focused on process driven things, not result driven things. And so as a culture, if we're process driven, then the results will take care of themselves because we're constantly improving upon our process. We're constantly getting better at the things that we know are bar setting behaviors, right? And then within that, if you have that high performance mindset, you crave accountability. You crave feedback. What does accountability and feedback do? They constantly perform, they constantly push the envelope, constantly creating a learning environment, constantly innovating, looking for new opportunities, taking risks, and doing those things. And so the mindset piece and the ability to overcome adversity is the biggest part of it, right? And then also understanding from a high performer standpoint that it's the aggregation of marginal gains. So what I mean by that is a little bit all the time is better than a lot once in a while, right? So in those high performing environments, you see a culture where everybody is constantly doing things to push the needle rather than, once a quarter we're having a big push. Once every 2 quarters, we're having a big push when people walk out of a rah-rah sales meeting. No, we're constantly looking for that 1%. And those are just some traits of a high-performing mindset, right? But again, it's all of those things. It's the culmination of all that that creates a culture of it. And the beautiful thing about that is when you have a room full of high performers, I was just having this conversation with somebody else. When you have a room full of high performers, it draws out the energy from everybody else in the room. And so now those introverted people are vibrating at a higher level. Those extroverted people are finding their strengths as well, right? So everybody's vibrating at this really high level. We're collaborating, we're problem solving, we're critically thinking, and we're looking for opportunities to get better. So setting that foundation through the mindset and through the performance piece creates this culture that absolutely reinforces it, right? It's a cyclical relationship where the relationship is the behaviors that create the culture will reinforce the culture. So if those behaviors are high performing behaviors, they're going to create a high performing culture. And within that high performing culture, the results will come. And even if they don't come right away, the another great trait of a high performing individual is delayed gratification, right? And so does that mean that we want our business to lag 6 months, 8 months, 12 months on our bottom line? No, absolutely not. But it does mean that we're R&Ding things and we're not taking the initial results and saying, hey, this is a loss, scrap it. No, we're staying in the fight long term so that we can see that payoff.
Again, great advice. Um, just in that same vein, what advice would you have for an entrepreneur looking to build a winning team and a company culture?
Yeah, first off, ask yourself what your core values look like in action. So a lot of companies make the mistake of either outsourcing or spending too much time writing this beautiful culture statement of their values and this is who we are. And that's great. Listen, you should have that. We have it as well. But that is what's called your stated culture. What really matters is your experience culture. So for most companies, there's a pretty big gap between those two. So between the words on the wall or in the manual and what's going on a day-to-day basis, the bigger that gap is, the bigger problem you have. So we want to try and shrink that gap. How do we do that? We be as clear, concise, and honest as we possibly can when we're formulating that culture statement. We don't put fluff in. We don't use words that are ambiguous or vague. We're very clear, concise, and honest and say, this is who we are. Then from there, when you're building the team, it's operationalizing those words, right? So, for example, if one of our core values is innovation, we should be having conversations with our team about what innovation looks like in a practical setting. What does innovation look like in an internal comm setting, right? What does it mean to be innovative in the way that we handle business internally? What does it mean customer facing? What does it mean in the office? What does it mean, from a product design standpoint? All of those things, you have to operationalize the behavior and give people an example, and then you reward those examples. The other thing you have to do is be very, very quick to address what we call below the line behaviors. So behaviors that are the opposite of what you're trying to promote, you got to address them right away because what you tolerate is what will continue, right? So really the culture is set by the worst behavior that a leader is willing to tolerate. That's what sets where your culture is going to be. And so you have to be very quick to address that. And I think that when you're building a team, it's being intentional about having those conversations and being intentional about reiterating and celebrating publicly those wins and those rewards, right? That's how you build that foundation of culture. And then the other piece is understanding that when you're building a team, build the person first. The business will follow. I promise you. It is an undeniable fact. If you invest in the person, the performance will come. So what I mean by that is most founders and most teams, they hire somebody and then they say, okay, we'll see you for your one-on-one, right? And they let them loose. And it's like, no, 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 no. We need to be having ongoing conversations. And they don't need to be, I'm not saying your calendar should be filled with one-on-one meetings, but what I am saying is you should be having three different types of conversations with your employees and your team, especially those core hires. You should be asking yourself and having conversation with them and say, okay, number one, let's have a coaching conversation, meaning let's talk about skills that you need to upskill in order for us to continue to move forward as a business. What are the things that you're struggling with? What are the skills that, what resources do you need? How do we grow this, right? What are those types of things? And then also talking about from there, what does your plan look like within the business? Do you want to grow? Do you want to grow into a management role, a VP role, whatever that is? Let's have that conversation. And then let's start to upskill those things that are necessary, get you into the development programs that we need, right? That's a coaching conversation. You should also be having a mentoring conversation, which is life stuff, soft skills. Let's talk about, what does your 10-year plan look like? What does success look like to you? What drives you? What fires you up? What makes you sick? What keeps you up at night? Right? Having those conversations, getting to know the person, that also helps drive performance. And then the last piece are your traditional one-on-ones, your data-driven managerial meetings, right? Obviously, you still need to be having those, and you need to have set KPIs, make sure your goals are on par, make sure all those things are being managed, because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Right. And so that's my big problem with some of the, like, the performance improvement plans, like the PIPs, or like some of the one-on-one meetings that people are having with data. It's like, you're setting these metrics, but how are you measuring them along the way? Like when I walk into my one-on-one, nothing should be a surprise. I should be able to be looking at my numbers throughout that process and see where I'm at from a measurement standpoint, from a data standpoint, so that we can have a very, structured and forward-driven conversation. And the last thing is just remembering, when you're building that team, nothing, nothing will ever replace the personal touch. Create moments for your people. Like when they come in the door, create a moment, make them part of the culture, make them part of the team, have those threshold moments that people remember. Because at the end of the day, we're in the great resignation and the quiet quitting and all this stuff is happening. At the end of the day, people don't leave jobs, they leave bosses, right? So how do you create an environment that people don't want to leave? That's the advice I would give, is create an environment that people don't want to leave. And the way that I say it, and the way that I do it with my team, is we have a simple rule: be who you needed. That's it. That's how we address, the leadership concept in our company, is be who you needed.
That's awesome. There is so much good stuff in everything that you've said. I'm gonna have to watch it myself. I'm gonna have to take some notes. So I'd recommend everybody do the same. Sharpen your pencils. I probably should have led with that, but awesome. Was there anything that we missed that you wanted to add?
No, brother, this has been really fun. I mean, the only add-on I would probably throw in there is if you're not ready to take the jump into coaching and one-on-one coaching, if you're not interested or not ready to bring us into a business, like, we do have an online community that's running strong, and it's so much fun to run. We do not one-on-one, we do weekly live calls. We have all types of things in there. It's called The Arena, and it's literally for high performers. Doesn't matter your industry, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your experience. To your opportunity to create, we call them creating collisions, where you get the opportunity to network and learn with other high performers. And it's been so much fun to drive, and so much fun to build. So yeah, we'll make sure that that's available, and anybody that mentions your podcast, we'll get them a code out there. Actually, I'll drop the code right here. So if you use code Arena1 at checkout, you'll get a free month of membership, and you can join all the calls and check it out.
Awesome. Recommend people do that. Outside of that, where else can they find you, and how else can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, brother. We're pretty simple when it comes to getting a hold of us, man. EdgeLeadershipAcademy.com is our website. All of our things are on there. Booking links are on there, all that stuff. If you want to get directly to me, this is a little cheat code again for your audience. I run my own Instagram and I run my own LinkedIn. So if you get in touch with me at Coach D Kitch on Instagram, or David Kitchen on LinkedIn, Coach Kitch, you can look it up. If you message me on those two platforms, that is me directly answering. That is not my team. It's not anybody else. So those two are definitely you're probably your fastest way to get directly to me. And then obviously, if you're looking to inquire about us coming in and speaking or doing something, just use the website, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Perfect. I cannot recommend it more. Absolutely have that conversation. Reach out, participate in any way you can. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna have to go back through and read. There's a lot of gold there that it was just like, here, go nuts. So I can only imagine how in depth it can get because you could probably spend an hour on every single one of these topics, if not
Yeah.
more. Um, because, like you said, this isn't stuff that you invented; it's stuff that you recognized and put words to so that others can recognize it as well. So that's awesome. If anybody would like to get a hold of Kitch, do it. I'm gonna put everything in the show notes. So we're super easy to find. Other than that, if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can find me at our website at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, connect with awesome people like Coach Kitch in our growing community. If you or somebody you would like to, would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Kitch, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing just so much value with us. That was awesome. I really can't overstate that. So let's all go out there, have an awesome day, and grow our circle. All right.